Beings we cannot see are closer to us than we think. Just because they are unseen does not mean they do not exist. People easily use a single word to conveniently describe the unseen: ghosts. That is not entirely wrong, but can every being in this world truly be called by the same name? Beings that once were human and beings that were never human. They may remain in the same space, yet they cannot be understood by the same standards. In many exorcism accounts and shamanic cases, problems begin when this distinction is not recognized. This video is not meant to provoke fear, but to present a way of understanding the unseen. First, the Yeongga. Among the beings we fear, some were once someone's family. A Yeongga is not a monster, but a person who once existed within our lives. Yeongga does not simply mean a dead person or a ghost. It refers to a being that was once human, a respectful way of addressing the deceased. In Buddhist rites and memorial ceremonies, the term Yeongga is added after the name of the deceased, not to label them as objects of fear, but to acknowledge and honor them as a being. A Yeongga is the trace of someone who once breathed, lived, loved, and regretted. Yes, deceased ancestors, parents, family, and those we once loved and cherished. We refer to their soul or presence as Yeongga. Therefore, within a Yeongga remains not mere fear, but fragments of life's memories and habits. A final goodbye left unspoken, regret over what could not be kept, emotions that were never resolved. A Yeongga is not a being that remains as a monster, but one that lingers with unfinished memories and emotions. For this reason, in Korea, traditionally, Yeongga are not driven away, but comforted, soothed, and guided onward. Thus, in Korean shamanic practice and many exorcism settings, the term ghost is not carelessly used for a being that was once human. In actual accounts where mediums communicate with spirits, Yeongga often feel offended when called ghosts. Spirits unable to reach heaven or the afterlife and lingering at the boundary of this world may not accept that they have become ghosts. Calling them Yeongga is not due to fear of ghosts, but a matter of respect for a being that was once human. Then why do most people not call ghosts Yeongga and instead portray them as dangerous or evil beings? The reason is not that they are inherently evil. After death, failing to reach heaven, paradise, or the next cycle of rebirth, they remain bound at the boundary between the afterlife and the living world, lingering so long that they become distorted. During this process, a Yeongga may lose its original clarity and gradually mix with surrounding turbid energies. Memories of the final moment of life, emotions left unresolved, an unprepared death, unspoken regrets, and attachments or grudges towards specific people. When all of these begin to accumulate over time, the Yeongga is no longer simply lingering, but becomes perceived as a presence that affects spaces and people. Thus, people begin to call such a state a troubled spirit, or a ghost turning into a malevolent entity. However, there is one important point. Although a Yeongga may retain the personality it had in life, most do not possess intentional malice to harm others from the beginning. However, if this state persists for a long time, the story changes. When unresolved emotions and resentment accumulate, a Yeongga may gradually transform into what is called a vengeful or malevolent spirit. At that point, simple comfort and soothing may no longer resolve the situation. Some exorcism cases explain that a being which began as a Yeongga was elevated into a dangerous presence due to time and environment. In other words, not all malevolent spirits were evil from the beginning. They may be the result of a Yeongga that was never properly guided onward, becoming fixed in a distorted form. A spirit that remains untranscended in the earthly realm gradually weakens or dissipates over time. If family or loved ones do not perform memorial rites or care for the spirit, its energy weakens even faster. Because a Yeongga was once human, some may wish to preserve their remaining energy. They may act harmfully to draw energy from other spirits or the living. Especially when death came suddenly and unjustly, awakening to find oneself existing as a ghost in neither heaven nor the afterlife. The desire to release that resentment onto another may arise. Even if a Yeongga, with good intentions, touches a person to help them, the moment the yin energy of the spirit overlaps with the yang energy of the living, problems may begin for both. Yeongga, another name for ghosts, a name that honors one who was once human.
The beings we fear may not be entirely different from us, but ones who once lived through the same time as we did. The moment we try to understand them, the unseen world feels a little closer.